All right. So, getting back on the employee train, right? And I've been running subs now for a while. And so, wasn't terribly difficult to figure out for Jaden, who's a young gentleman that I'm working with today. However, I really need to dial in my numbers to know what I can offer for a couple of the other guys that I need to hire, which is finished carpentry, installation, stuff like that. And then I did look into state of Texas. We can't do a ghost policy. So they either have to be subcontractors bidding on a project. They've got a cost that they've bid. That's the flat for the project. They start and stop. They're done. I have to have employees on workman's comp. And then my policy changes slightly to be able to cover for the liability, which is not a big deal. But my short questions are essentially, I need some good starting points of the rough details of how to, and this may be a coach call, really dial in what I can offer, figuring out exactly where my numbers should be in terms of, starting offer for really kind of a couple of different positions. And wanted to find out from you guys as well, on top of that, besides workman's comp and your liabilities, or anything else beyond that you're doing to kind of entice new hires.
Great question. So would love to get some client feedback here. How did you know when you needed to hire? How did you know what to offer that person? Or how did you find that out? And then are there any incentives that you had in place to bring that person on? Is that kind of summarize, Jeff, what you're asking?
Yeah, basically, and I know we could boil it down to funnel it into just a handful of questions in terms of, what are our numbers every month? What's our profit, our gross, for the business? The ROI, I think I have to be able to determine appropriately, and I think that really comes into play after they get on the field. The good news is the next gentleman I'm going to hire, I've worked with him before, and I already know what his turnaround time is for installations and working in the shop, et cetera. But really just what do you guys go through to make sure, number one, that you can afford putting, 1-2 extra people on? What are the basic numbers that you guys are running? And then what incentives are you offering aside from just, 40 hours a week? I like to do 5 paid days off a year once they've passed a probation period. We usually do like a 60-day probation period, right, where everybody kind of feels it out, because you can get to know somebody within a month, I think. Mm-hmm. And if they're not a good fit, there's really no sense in them gaining PTO, having paid time off, all this stuff. So we typically do like a 60-day probation period. After that, they have 5 paid days off a year, and they're major holidays. Because I like to, if the 4th of July is on a Tuesday and everybody's off, I don't want these guys to feel like they're having to take it off and not get paid. So I try and incentivize with a few things like that. We also offer some training programs that are paid through the business for them to be able to go and work on finish work and learn the CNC a bit, things of that nature. So skill building training that's offered right through the business for them to grow their skill set. But really anything else that you guys would recommend, or things that you do to kind of help offer and retain good people, and really how you got to those numbers. I know that's a lot, and we can just focus on one of those if you guys prefer.
Yeah. Any client feedback there? I think a good place to start is probably, when did you know that you wanted to hire or needed to hire? And then what kind of maybe KPIs or numbers were you looking at or setting to make that hire?
Yes, good question. So this is going to probably sound funny, but there was a kind of viral advertisement, you know how these things go on something, Instagram or whatever, a game called 52 Hats. I don't know if you guys have seen this. So I ordered it, and all you pay is shipping for it to show up. And it's literally a game for you to figure out which hats you're wearing in your business and which ones you need to delegate. It's like the most brilliant thing. And of course it was targeted, the algorithms know me, apparently. It was targeted to business owners. So my wife and I played it, and it was shocking. I mean, I'm basically wearing everything aside from my bookkeeping, my taxes. I'm literally doing pretty much everything in terms of sales, estimation, CAD work, fabrication in the shop. The short answer, Nicole, to your question is, I know I need to hire because I'm still in the close. And that would be my first indication is I'm back in the shop again, pretty much full time. I'm working on weekends, our sales are insane. We're booked all the way into this fall season. And so I really just need to find two good guys that I can put on pretty much full time to fill both shop fabrication and on-site installations.
Yeah. What client feedback do we have on that?
Yeah, you guys are pretty quiet. Do you guys not hire anybody?
I mean, I'm pretty new at hiring people, but
Mhm.
it might be more complicated for you. But me, I just basically figure out the cost of my jobs, and like I'm billing. I don't know. I bill probably lower than most contractors, but I bill at $75 an hour. But then when I do bids, I just kind of get a rough estimate of how much I'm gonna work, and then I usually add 10% just in case, and then I guess I don't have to get exactly into my bidding, but I basically just think about, I guess the new guy I just hired him, I hired him at $25 an hour. So I think after I just honestly did use ChatGPT to kind of give me an exact how much it costs to have him, and it costs about $30 an hour, I think, something like that, to pay him $25 an hour roughly.
Right.
So I think if I'm looking to hire a more experienced carpenter, and I'm thinking about paying him 35 to 37 an hour.
Yes.
And I think that roughly costs me about $50 an hour. So I'm making before my markup, my percentage, I'm making $25 an hour, which isn't a ton, but I also think about the one guy I'm making $45 an hour, and then him $25 an hour plus my percentage. It's that's kind of how I've been figuring it out. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but I'd like to pay guys $50. I'd like to pay guys $50 an hour, but then I just wouldn't make any money. So
you're doing production rate estimation is what you're talking about, essentially. And we did
kind of.
So we did production rate estimation for years, and I started at 95 and didn't even look back because the quality of the stuff. So everything comes from our head. We are the leaders of the business. And so we are setting the precedent for the quality that is being delivered to the clients. And so I know the quality that we offer. We're not the most expensive guy, on the block, but we're not the cheapest either. So I started about at 95, and this was right after the pandemic, and we've just gone up. I think we just changed our production rate estimation to 105 an hour, and it covers an insane amount, but it offers a lot. Our guys are very efficient, and so we get things done really quickly on the subcontracting side. But in terms of me shifting gears over towards, say, a cost plus, like Nicole and I have talked about, because we're doing strictly remodeling these days, on the paint side, I can still do production rate estimation and still make a killing, 45, 50%, after everything's settled, which is killer. Those are great numbers for paint. But on remodel, with a 25%, for example, cost plus, I need to figure out a really good way to dial that in so that I know exactly where I should be and what my ceiling would be, to offer. But I'm going to need to dig into this a little bit more.
It is definitely going to be finding your numbers from your actual numbers.
Yes.
I know that's a weird statement to have made, but from your
that makes sense.
Statement, but it also matters what role you're even talking about here, Jeff. Are you talking about a project manager? Are you talking about an office admin? Are you talking about a carpenter, a gopher, a delivery, or a demo guy? What are you looking for?
So two would be, one of them is a fabricator, cabinet fabricator and installer. So basically a finished carpenter on that side of things. And then the other one would be more on prep and paint. So more of the, I don't want to say low level, but kind of base level production. So sanding, caulking, filling, priming, all that fun stuff. And that has a real good stair step area for them to work on. The finished carpentry, for example, they come in 35, 38 an hour is where we need to start with them because of what they're able to produce, essentially. But those would be the two big ones that would unblock a lot of bottleneck that I have going on right now. The last and final one would be somebody running the CNC. But Jaden actually here is going to be going into engineering. So he's working with us just this summer. And so I'm actually going to start training him a bit on being able to run that because that gets me out of having to run it. And it's a wonderful position to fill. So that bottleneck completely opens up at that point, and I can focus on selling, client rapport, and then getting us to a point where we can actually afford a project manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would say for sure on some of those lower level, I don't know that I would say either of those are necessarily the highest level you would need to hire anyway. Project manager would be on that highest level tier.
Yes,
But
exactly.
both of those would be kind of roles I would see more fitting in an hourly rate sort of structure. And we
Exactly.
can figure out what your costs are. Part of that's going to be competitive, what's normal going rate.
Yep.
And whenever you try to put up a job post or search up on Indeed, it'll give you suggestions of what the rate is in your area as an
Normally
idea for a starting.
Yeah, normally it's a little bit on the higher end, but it does
Yes.
give you a good idea. And I always tell clients when I'm posting a job on Indeed, give a wide range.
Exactly.
Give like the bottom and give like the, hey, if you're crushing it, here's the top. Because Indeed just needs to get an idea.
Exactly. And Indeed's doing the same thing that a lot of other sites are doing these days. It's pulling data from AI, which I can't remember. I think Charles, I think it was you was mentioning using GPT to help kind of figure out numbers. A bit of a warning in doing so is not only does it say, obviously, ChatGPT can make mistakes and everything, but just keep in mind that when we're running numbers, if we're using AI for our numbers, it can start to get little loose around the edges and start to give you wider and wider or more inflated numbers in the wrong direction.
Correct.
And if you correct it, if you tell it, no, that's not what my numbers say, it'll go, oh, whoops, my mistake.
Yep.
So keep that in mind, because it's going to err on the side of wanting to please you is how it's built, right? So it's going to try and get you to stay engaged. So just a little warning on that side of things. We do use GPT a little bit, but if I do it at all, it's maybe drop in a PDF and have conversations with it about that. Something where it's just direct data back and forth that I can review. When it comes to pulling like, hey, what's an average cost of paying a carpenter in Cincinnati or whatever, I would do a little bit more like on the ground research, like look at other postings that are out there, talk to other guys that are applying. You're going to get much better data that way than using AI. Just a little warning on that side.
Yeah, and that's true. We would agree with that. With Indeed, it's going to pull from its own site. It'll use AI to pull from its own figures because people are putting their actual jobs on there. So it's more reliable than the stuff you're talking about with GPT. But like I said, it's more of that initial starting range.
Right.
However, even with that, it's still important to look at your numbers. What can you actually budget it in? And then as long as you're pricing it in your estimator, that's how you're going to make sure it fits. Is you have to account for everything that's going to be on those jobs, in those jobs, and in your estimates.
Excellent.
We're still big proponents of merit-based pay where there's incentives. You can have general incentives that are for anyone on the team, regardless of role. Right. Things like a referral bonus for jobs that they bring in or for other employees that you might hire.
Or they get named in a review personally or something like that.
For sure. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, being named in a review, things like that, as well as even having incentives around something role specific. That's something that you can do if you start to see opportunity for acceleration. You don't want to incentivize what's normal activity for them unless their entire compensation is incentive based. If it's kind of a hybrid and your hybrid includes some of the expected roles as the incentives, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot there. So with these roles, I would say it's more than likely you're going to put them on an hourly rate. You find a general idea to start from of what's competitive in your area, but then incentive wise, things that are non-monetary are also incentivizing. So you can give the ones that apply to everybody, but also things like even a flexible schedule or starting time or starting place.
Yes.
Those are incentives. Those are part
Traffic's an issue. I got to drop my kid off, et cetera. Being a bit more flexible to what their life has rather than work is life. That's it. You have to be here at this time. Yeah, no, that's
and
wonderful.
Part of that can be left vague in your job post of other incentives provided, but then you talk about that with them in the interview process to figure out, well, hey, what's important to you? Is money more of your driver, or is maybe time, or is tools or whatever?
It's one of my favorite questions. Is what inspires you? What is something that you get out of bed for every day, right? And when people just straight away say money, as opposed to my wife, my kids, my desire to create, my desire to make a good life for myself and my family. Like, you can tell right away when you ask that question, what is the driving and motivating factor there? That's a really great point, Bryce. This is all really good stuff.
Yeah. One
Awesome.
thing that I like to always consider too is a lot of times when you're looking to hire somebody, especially at the stage that you are, Jeff, like you as the business owner has been doing quite a bit of manual labor. Like you've been filling that role typically in the field for them. And what I have found is a lot of times the business owner does not, when they're doing their cost plus pricing or their pricing in general, they don't necessarily like count their time in that in that number. And so that's the first thing that I would analyze is like, hey, what before you even make that hire, let's make sure that you're pricing as if you already have that person, because right now you are that person. You are that person.
That's so good.
And that should immediately pay for themselves. Now, obviously, if that guy's really paying for themselves, it's kind of up to them and their performance. But that's the first thing that I would look at is, hey, are you pricing accurately now, as if you already have that person, because you are that person right now.
Bingo. That is fantastic. It's a good thing that could easily get overlooked. So that's a wonderful point.
And typically does.
Too many business owners think of themselves as the free labor. If I do this, I don't have to pay somebody else to do it. The problem is you're the most expensive person on your entire staff. You should be $200 an hour at minimum as an owner in the business. So if you could pay somebody $25 an hour, it doesn't save you money to put yourself in that position instead. It costs you nearly $200 an hour just to be doing that yourself. You have to put yourself in there.
You doing that instead of outselling another project.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
What other questions do we got going on today? Thoughts? Things we're working through.
I've got something.
I got it.
How's everybody doing?
Fletcher,
Woo! 1, 2, 3.
Doing great, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. As we say in Detroit, what up, though?
Yes.
We're talking about hiring, so I've got some questions just because I've had some employees who've had, I had to let go because we have a saying here, you don't work here if you don't work here. So they had issues coming to work, right? And sometimes it was, because they didn't have their own transportation and relying on somebody else or things like that, but still you need to get up early enough and get to work if you're relying on somebody. So we've had some employees who we had let go, but they had some situations too. They didn't have a license. Now they went and got their license fixed and things like that. And so they have come back and actually talked about working here again and communicating that, hey, they can get on time, they have reliable transportation and things like that. So my question to you all is, what do you all think about hiring somebody's got a good character, learns fast and able to do the job, but their challenge was getting to work on time? Or even what your opinion is about hiring people you've let go in the past?
Hey.
Any clients have any
Go ahead, Alex.
I was just asking if any clients had any feedback or responses on that.
I would typically avoid, in most circumstances, not hiring someone that you've let go. I believe that people are capable of change. I just think that happens seldomly. And especially when someone gets comfortable in an environment they're familiar with again, it may not happen at first, but typically a lot of those same patterns. I think what really matters is the context of the situation, right? Yeah. So to make these, blanket statements, they may not be applicable to every single situation. I think the context really matters, but in general, Fletcher, I would say avoid hiring someone that you have let go of in the past. Now, what is the situation? Like, can you tell me a little bit more? Because you kind of asked two different questions. You asked about someone who's late, and then you asked about someone that used to work for you that you let go of.
Well, that's why I let them go, because they're late. So like I said, with the saying we have here is you don't work here, you don't work here. So if you can't make it to work or you're always showing up late, I count clock hours. When I pull them aside and we do write-ups for tardies and things like that, I let them know how many days they're missed just from being tardy. Like you're supposed to be
Mhm.
contributing, 40 hours a week, and you've contributed, 32. You've missed a whole day of work. So somebody had to cover you
That's
for
pretty
8
late.
hours.
That's pretty late. If
Yeah.
if they missed a total of 8 hours a week in 5 days of working,
Yeah.
that's like what?
I mean, yeah, I
Almost
was
2 hours
making
a
an
day that
example.
they're arriving late. How is that
Yeah.
even a thing?
Right, yeah, that's that was an exaggerated example. I was doing some quick math. I'm not the
Okay.
fastest math person, right? But
Yeah.
I just knew 32 plus 8 makes 40. That's all I was doing. So,
Dude,
but yeah,
even if they work like 37 hours, 38 hours,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's still
Yeah.
pretty late.
I've had clients
It's still
count
late.
tardy as a half day off, like half day absence. If you're tardy, it just counts as one of your days off or half of
So-
one of your days off. But
So
I see that.
Fletcher, again, context is like, okay, what's the hiring need? Does this person have the skill set? What makes you think that bringing this person back, what makes you think that anything's going to be different? Those are the things I would think about. Like how I think about hiring decisions is like for small businesses like ours, I would be less concerned with treating everything like a corporate HR policy, right?
Mhm.
That's very detached from context and is just based in, okay, what was the protocol? What was the procedure? Was it followed? Yes or no, right? That's kind of a more
Right.
corporate approach. And I would
Mhm.
contextualize it just for where your business is at right now and what makes sense. In general, though, the expectation I would set is that if someone has really struggled in that way before, they're probably going to continue doing it. So
Yeah.
if you can bring this person in, understanding that and still make use of them, then maybe it's worth considering. But generally, I would say to avoid. But I really want to hear what Jordan has to say. Jordan Russell. I actually was thinking about him when you asked this question because I know he's dealt with
So was I.
stuff.
I was hoping Jordan was on this call.
One particular employee I've hired and fired. Well, I guess I've hired him 3 times, fired him 4.
How does that happen?
You trust people.
How do you fire him when he doesn't work for you? How did you get that 4th time?
Yeah, sorry. Hired him 3 times, fired him 3 times.
Okay,
My
sorry.
math.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just like,
Yeah.
it was like
That-
in the
that was
interview,
wrong.
we're like, we'll bring you on board. And then he goes like, says some expletive and you're like, you're fired.
Yeah. I just have like a soft spot in my heart for certain people, and you trust people's action, or you trust people's words and not look at their actions, and people will say that they've changed and stuff like that. And then but a lot of times it's more important what their actions are to reflect that change. So like the example you gave, somebody who doesn't have a license or reliable transportation, maybe that change would be they now have a license and now they have a reliable transportation. That might be a more simple one. Mine was more alcohol and drugs were the problem with the guy I had. And in terms of like tardies and stuff like that, what we've started doing is if somebody's like habitually late, they just go home for the day. Like they come in, they've been late a couple times, you hit them where it hurts, or say they call out, but like they call out last minute, tell them, all right, take this day off, take tomorrow off too. You can do write-ups and stuff like that as well. I found like, at least for me, the most effective way to fix that is you hit them where it hurts, and that's on their paycheck. The difficult thing, as always, is you've got a schedule that's booked out, and you want to complete that schedule, and maybe sending that guy home disrupts the whole week's schedule. So that's like the double-edged sword of it,
Mhm.
But yeah, hiring and firing people. My thing is just like words are one thing, actions are different. So like the example you gave of licenses and reliable transportation, I mean, that might be an easy one to look at, but if it's something of more of like a character default type thing, you might have to look at like, hey, how have you actually changed your life, versus just the words that you're telling me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jordan. Yeah, and quite honestly, some of the things you described, Jordan, as we do that as well. I mean, our crews are in by 8:30 and out by the latest 9 a.m. to the job. So the trucks and things are loaded. And so if someone is here after the trucks have left, I just send them home. You have nowhere to go. We don't have private vehicles on customers' property. So I guess you missed work today. And because you missed work today, I have to write you up. So I started HR process as well. So you don't get paid and you at risk of possibly losing your job. And the reason why I asked this question is because I've got some people I had to let go that we really wanted to stick around, but they just really, my biggest issue, I have people who just have issues getting to work. I don't know if you know anything about the state of Michigan, but our insurance is ridiculously high. People lose their license just because they've been pulled over without insurance. And then couldn't pay the ticket, and now they don't have a driver's license, right? So we've got to. I know I'm going to be hiring people like this, but I'm looking for somebody who's responsible enough to show up to work, even if they don't have readily available access like a vehicle. And we have horrible public service in the city of Detroit as well. Don't really know that either. So I have been considering bringing someone back because they reached out to us about coming back to work. They got their things together and whatnot. And so I've been considering bringing them back, and I just wondered what you all thought about that. Because the background for me, I've been married to the same girl since high school, so I don't break up with somebody and date them again. It's over after we break up. So that's how I feel about this hiring thing, and I'm trying to learn how to come back and get back in a working relationship with somebody.
So
Once you break up with me, it's over. Okay.
Yeah, I respect that, by the way. So here's a few like actual practical questions that I would ask her in the situation that's going to help you make a decision at least as confidently as you can for now. I think the first question is there a real need to bring someone in? By bringing someone in who is already fairly well trained in your systems, in your way of doing things, is that person going to allow you to close more business or do more business right now? Right. So if the answer is kinda, then I would just stay away from it. If it's a definite yes, then I move on to the next question, which is, okay, if it was a transportation issue, has this person solved the transportation issue, right, in an actual, like, real way? Did they not have a car before? Now they have a car, right? Or they did not have reliable transportation. Now they have reliable transportation. And if the answer is yes, then I would set really strict conditions based upon them coming back. Like you can think of this as almost a probationary period. You can say, hey, you're trained in our systems. You acknowledge why we let you go. You now have reliable transportation to get you here. Let's try this again. However, it's a one strike, you're out kind of thing. I need to make sure that there's not going to be really anything that comes up, no accidents, no, oh my gosh, I forgot, or anything like that. If we bring you on board, it's going to be initially for the first 3 to 6 months, kind of like a probationary period, where if you show up late, if you make this mistake or whatever, then I'm just gonna call it quits really easily. We're not going to try to solve it any further. Okay. So if you set those expectations from the very beginning and you are really clear about them, I have a big belief that no one should ever be surprised that they're being fired. And what I'm really saying when I'm saying that is that the owner should set clear enough expectations with the problem employee to communicate, hey, here is why we're letting you go, or here's the challenge we're running into. And here's specifically the metrics you need to hit in order to keep your job, in order to stay. And if you don't hit these metrics, then we're going to have to let you go. I think it should be on the owner, because a lot of times the owner doesn't communicate that clear enough. And sometimes there's a confusion on expectations. It may seem real obvious to you as the owner, right? Like, how could someone ever be confused about this? But sometimes there is a misunderstanding of expectations. And I just believe in giving people like a clear, like, final warning type of thing before letting them go. And so I would ask those questions. And then if the answer is yes to those questions, I would set really strict expectations up front. And then I would just try it and take it as a learning lesson for yourself as a business owner.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking about doing, rolling the dice with it. Yeah. Nobody's ever surprised to get let go around here.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Good.
ever surprised. So yeah, I don't mind having those conversations just because of my former training. So
Yeah, I know.
I was wondering what your all opinions were. I think that's a good call, Robert. So I may be reaching out to that person today because I've lost two key employees, or I lost two employees. One was a very key employee. We're training him to be a team leader. He's been with us for 3 years. Their grandmother moved to Ohio, and they've been taking care of their grandmother, so they had to move to Ohio for their grandmother's health. So I lost those guys. So now I got to start all over. And I had let somebody go prior to them leaving, who was coming together, but they just weren't coming to work. And so I'm gonna reach out to them and find out if they got their problems resolved and see if they'd be interested in come back to work, because they did reach out to my dad and said they were interested in coming back to work. And I knew I was being very staunch about it. It's like, no, we let you go. It was a problem before. It's gonna be a problem forever, and I don't want to be like that. So,
Well,
thank you, everybody.
Yeah. With hearing your confidence and not bringing them back, actually evaluate. Make sure you're actually evaluating what's the motivation behind that. Is it just this kind of irrational, we let someone go, I'm going to let them go, I'm not ever going to consider hiring them again type of perspective, or is there legitimate reasons behind it? So yeah, a few things to evaluate, but kind of have a decision tree mapped out for you. At the end of the day, whether you say yes or no to bring them back, great learning experience as an owner.
Great. All right. I love learning.
Yeah. So fun.
Say it like you mean it, Fletcher.
Cannot wait. Let's get there.
All right, Charles, did you have something, buddy, earlier?
Oh, did I have a question?
I thought Fletcher and someone else, and I thought it was you, kind of started talking at the same time, and we went with Fletcher first.
I think it was Fletcher, Chris, and maybe Charles.
I think I did have a question about something. Oh yeah, about dealing with homeowners.
Okay.
I did have a question about homeowners. I don't know. I kind of talked to my coach about this yesterday. I think I'm gonna start putting it in my contract, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I get it a lot in Vermont. I don't know if people get this other places, but homeowners always want to help with the project. And it's like, I don't know the nice way to be like, dude, it does not help when you help. It actually messes up the project, and they usually you spend more time like explaining stuff to them, and it just messes up the whole flow. I just maybe if anybody has ever dealt with that and be like, we can't have you helping us. And also like when homeowners just stand there and like stare at you and your guys, that messes us up too. And I'm like, I'm just not sure the best way to be like, can you just like piss off, but in a nice way? I don't know. I don't know. I've been struggling with that like a lot in the last.
Well, Charles, how would you
jobs.
say that? How would you say that in a nice way?
I guess what I've been doing is just like, I don't know. I don't really know how I've been doing it. Yeah, I'm trying to think about the best way to do it. A lot of times I'm just like, I just tell them I got this. I don't need your help. Like, this is why you hired me. But
so I've been seeing these funny videos on Instagram of like a contractor going to a restaurant, and they're like, yeah, I will have the eggs Benedict, but I brought my own eggs. So if you guys could make those. And also my cousin is really good at making English muffins. So I'm going to have him actually make the English muffins. And it's like supposed to showcase how if you were to treat like a restaurant or other businesses, like how a lot of homeowners treat contractors, it's supposed to like poke fun at the ridiculousness of that, right? Like no one would actually like another one was like, can I see an itemized list of all the ingredients a part of this meal, right? Like a line item list, kind of like what homeowners ask for. And so I think understanding, number one, that that's just like normal for people to do because there's this general skepticism that they have with contractors and they're just spending a lot of money. When people are just spending a lot of money, they're going to like be sensitive about it. So what I would encourage you to do is first off, during your like pre-construction process. So during like your pre-construction meeting, I'd set an expectation about the kind of contractor that you are and why you work better under certain conditions. So you're going through a list of expectations about the project, about billing. I don't know if you've gotten into that yet, the pre-construction process, that first project kickoff meeting that we talk about sometimes. And in that, I would tell the customer, hey, here's how we work. Here's why we work that way. And you're setting expectations about how you need to work, right? So just as a kind of systemic change, I would start doing that going forward. And then whenever you do have a customer that is getting involved in a way that's cumbersome, I think most of it is, it's less having to do with what you want to say and more having to do with probably just wanting to avoid having what may seem like an uncomfortable conversation. But in reality, it's not going to be that uncomfortable or awkward if you just go into the conversation with a specific intention of what you want to communicate, right? So we're wanting to communicate like, hey, customer, leave, but there's legitimate reasons why. Hey, I love that you're wanting to get involved in this project. I love that you're wanting to see what we're doing, and I understand you're investing a lot here. Here's what can kind of happen whenever you get too involved, right? Whenever whatever the issues are, it can slow down our process. If we're not the only one ordering materials, a lot of times the wrong materials show up. So we just have these policies that we follow that makes projects go a lot better. And that's how I would communicate it in a nice way. So basically what you're doing is you're taking a step back. I would write down specifically why you need this to change in terms of the dynamic with the homeowner, right? Like, what are the actual issues it's creating beyond it's just annoying? Like what would some of those issues be?
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
What are some of those issues?
Yeah. Like what are some?
I guess like, yeah, when homeowners want to help, it really just, they don't actually help a lot of times. It's like they think they're helping, but they're actually just messing up the whole flow of the job.
Exactly.
And it just makes things challenging. And it's like, I don't know why you'd hire me if you want to do the job. It doesn't make any sense.
So what kind of help are you talking about? Like, what's an example of what like how is the homeowner trying to help?
Well, I've had jobs where people hire me and then they come in and are just like literally doing the work that they hired me to do, which is incredibly annoying. And you're like, why would you hire a professional? You're just going to do it. And I mean, on this job that I'm doing right now, he's a really nice guy and he has been helping, but it's like, he really wants to help with the job all the time. And I'm like, I spend more time like having to teach him how to do the thing than actually doing the work. I'm like, it'd be way faster if I just did the work or had one of my guys do the work. And
so
it's just hard to explain that to people.
All you're doing is telling the homeowner, hey, I love that you're willing to help. And I can see you're really enthusiastic about this project. I'm going to need to ask you if we can leave this work to me. Number one is why you hired me. Number two is we're having to spend a lot of time explaining things, and it's making the project take longer. Ultimately, I want to get your project done as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And this will allow us to do that. You can sit back, relax. And at the end of the day, if you want to walk through the work that we did, more than happy to do that with you at the end of the day when we're here. But I would just have like all you need to do is like have that conversation, like you're a professional, expect to be treated like a professional. Just have the conversation. I think that's the biggest issue is I don't know if it's so much, hey, what do I say or how do I do this, as much as it just needs to, a conversation of some kind needs to happen. Hey, love that you're enthusiastic. Try to see the customer's heart behind it. Love that you're enthusiastic, but this is can kind of be a disruption to our team. Here's why. Write some notes down before you have that conversation so you're feeling confident and prepared. And hey, you can sit back, relax, but we got to be able to stay focused and get through this stuff so that we can get your project done on time. Does that sound fair? And the homeowner will respond positively. Dustin, what's up, buddy? I know you've been having your hand up for a minute.
See if you can unmute.
Oh, he's trying. He's trying hard.
Should be a little microphone button. I wish it let us
Next
unmute.
to the camera. Yeah.
There you are.
Figured it out. Oh, sorry. Hey, a couple things. We ran into that issue ourselves. We just explained to the customer from a liability standpoint, if something goes wrong after the work they've completed, how do you take responsibility for that? And also, so the insurance, the liability.
I think that's a really great approach.
Quality control.
That's a really great point. I would orient it for what I like about Dustin's feedback, and what I'm also saying is orient that conversation towards the customer's benefit at the end of the day. Hey, there's a few things. I love your enthusiasm. I know you're wanting to help. I have to ask you to let us handle this. Here's why. Number one, there's a liability issue. If something were to happen to you, or if something were to happen to the project, I'm kind of still liable. You're not one of my employees. I can't really manage you. You're my customer, so I want to make sure we don't run into any issues there. Number two is I got to make sure the quality control's there. My guys really know how to do this stuff well. And if we add someone else to the mix that hasn't really done a lot of this before, then the final project, there may be issues or there may be stuff we have to go back on and take more time. Now the deadline's extended. And then lastly, it prevents us from being able to make progress, right? It has us take longer. And so if you want to go through the project together at the end of the day, at the end of the week, see all the work that we've done, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. Because I think at the end of the day, Charles, what the customer is really concerned about is just making sure it's done right. So if we can meet that need, right, of giving them what they want, hey, I'm going to allow you to make sure stuff's done right. We're not going to go do this whole thing and everything's going to be wrong. I'm going to keep you involved, but I need you to let me do the work. If you can pitch it in that way, I think the conversation will go great. Don't be afraid to reinforce your professional, or I should say, don't be afraid to be candid to your customer about you being a professional. The customer is not going to the back of the restaurant kitchen helping them make their breakfast, right? Why? Because a professional cook is back there and they're in a kitchen and there's certain health standards, right? And it's all those reasons are applicable for your situation right now as well. Ty, Big B, Big Bertram.
Yeah, there's a how are y'all? There's a funny little meme that we kind of use sometimes, and it's in conversation, but I've seen a meme of it where it says, hey, customer, here's the price for us to complete the job. Here's the 20% we add to it if you want to. Here's the 25% we add. So, and having like a funny conversation about that, and then just going, no, this has to be lighthearted when you do this.
Right.
And you go, no different than if I try to, like my wife and I are business partners. If I ask her to get a check from one of her people and I stand at her desk and stare at her, it usually doesn't go well. I mean, it's not as productive as I'd like it to be. So that's what she does. And so I let her. And so kind of the same way, our guys are very trained. They're great at what they do. They're not great at just having conversation while they're doing it, and we pay them to get the job complete. So if you can help us out, like you said, if you can help us out, it goes better. And at the end of it, if you'd like to ask a couple of questions with them, they'll be glad to go over it with you. But you know, it's just we make it lighthearted. I literally just had a lady that we're bid remodeling her whole house, and she is a researcher, a senior researcher at University of Texas, and she goes, well, there will be times when your guys leave and go to a break, and they'll come back, and I'm going to be painting the house. And I said, yeah, Pancho charges extra when people help him pay. So, but just being lighthearted with it, and but also making the point that this is what we do. And if you're a man, especially, and you've ever stood there while you were getting ready to go someplace and expected your wife to perform better and get ready faster, it doesn't work that way. It's kind of counterproductive. And having good, lighthearted conversation to begin with, but reinforcing the fact that you're the professionals, and remember, this is why you hired us. So
That's right. That's right.
We haven't ever had many people that want to do anything. By the way, we did business the other day with load bearing wall pros in Texas, and on 2 different jobs. And they sent me, because they were working to on one of the projects that I was doing and pulling out a 20-foot wall. Their email to the customer was, hey, we're going to be there. It was awesome. I stole a bunch of it. We're going to be there. Of course, the crew is going to need a place to use the restroom. We're going to tape off things and take care of things the best that we can. And bring your camera if you want to take pictures. We're great with that. After we're done, if you'd like to ask some questions about it, we'll be glad to answer them for you. And that's what they put in the beginning. And my customer probably took 20 pictures, but it was it was kind of refreshing that they invited it. Not to ask questions and be part, but if you want to take a picture, have at it. We're going to keep working.
Well, guys, that's all the time we have for the day. It's great to see everybody. I've been out for a couple of weeks, so it's great to be back. If you're new here, we like to end this call kind of like a football huddle breakdown. How that works is I count down from 3, 3, 2, 1. After I say 1, we all say growth on 3. Damon, he's like captain of the football team over here, man. I love every time I see him. I know. I'm gonna. All right, so 3, 2, 1, roll! Here we go. All right, love this enthusiasm, everybody.